guys, welcome back to our channel. We have a really exciting video for you today. We had an awesome, an epic, super exciting yellowfin bite.
Yeah, it was wide open, as good as it gets. I believe we marked this on a few birds that were working an area, some tern birds that were picking. And as we got up there, the sonar lit up and we were able to throw some bait on it. And it reacted really well, swam up the chum line full speed, eating every bait, and charged the corner of the boat. And it hung out with us for a while. And as you can see, rods bent everywhere.
Yeah, you can see the blood covering the deck, fish all over the place. This was definitely fun fishing. It was a little challenging because these small yellowfin, they zig and zag and go everywhere, and you got to be really quick on your feet. You can see I'm pointing this guy here to sort of get down to the corner because when there's so many fish on, nobody wants to get sawed off. So you really got to work together as a boat.
It was a little bit of a struggle with this particular group. I think we had a lot of inexperienced anglers, and these yellowfin were like 25 to 40 pound fish. They weren't your typical schoolies that you're catching in October. Nicer grade to them, and having this many fish hanging at a time, you can see our kill box was full. We had to pull a trash can over and start filling that because so many fish were on the deck. We didn't want to open a hatch and drop them in the hole as people are going left and right over it. It becomes a little bit dangerous. Once the bite slowed down and all the fish were bled out, we dropped them into the fish hole then and got them into the chilled water.
And it was really beautiful weather. Oh, there's a fresh one right there. Everybody was just really excited, and a lot of guys were getting hooked up, within a minute of really throwing their bait out there. If you could get a good bait, swim it away from the boat, get a good cast out there, you really had no problem hooking up. And as you can see here, all these guys are hooked up, and we're going into a pretty big tangle here. You can see that you're right there at the rail, and Keegan,
Yeah.
the deckhand, also helping you out, trying to
Yeah,
help you
Keegan
out.
and I getting in there. There's like 5 or 6 fish that all wrapped up. Guys did not follow their fish, did not move their feet, and it is one of the worst tangles you can imagine with this many fish. And somehow these fish did not saw each other off. You can see me and Keegan grabbing individual lines. We are hand lining up fish to gaff and hand lining up to splice lines to get everybody out. And in total, there were 6 fish that got wrapped in this. We got 4 out of the 6 out. We didn't bat 1,000, but considering that tangle and that wrap that these guys let happen by not moving their feet and not communicating, not going over and under one another, we were happy to get 4 out of the 6 out of it.
Yeah, absolutely. I had to quit recording because we needed to gaff some of those fish. But you guys did a good job of bringing those up, and there were some pretty happy anglers coming out of that tangle, surprisingly.
Yeah, for sure. And then if they were able to get back in the water, it was still biting, and it was biting heavy line. It was not line shy at all. 50, 60 pound test was getting bit no problem if you could get a bait away from the boat. We were trying to stress that to guys, and some people were still using 25, 30 pound tests. You have to adjust based on the bite conditions. When it's wide open, when it's biting, guys, and you hear the captain or crew say, switch to heavy line, 40, 50 pound test, do so. Step up to the heavier line, the bigger hook size, so that way you can get the fish in quicker and avoid that big tangle like we saw back there.
Exactly. You have a little bit more control because you can just pull on the fish a lot harder when you're fishing heavier line. You can see these guys here up at the bow fighting their fish, and some boats in the background. I think some people saw us on and decided to come on over and get part of the action.
Yeah, quite a few skiffs slid in very, very close to us when they saw a whole bunch of bent rods, which is not the best practice because when you drive that close to a boat, if we have fish around us on our chum line boiling up and boats are driving under it, it's going to push them down, freak them out, and it's just not good for the bite. I would say if you're going to buy your own boat, you should try to find your own fish instead of following other boats around. That's just my opinion.
You can see this guy here bringing a nice fish up to color and moving down, with multiple fish hanging. This guy right here, he's fighting his fish on the rail. He's been pretty lucky. He's been able to stay there pretty consistently and just kind of fight his fish right there.
Yeah, Andre has it on a little bit heavier line, and that's why he's able to dictate this fight a little bit. Strong rod, good 2-speed reel. I think he's got it on 40 or 50 pound tests, and that's the advantage of using this heavier line. The fish is doing tighter circles. So if he was using lighter line, say 25 pound test, as that fish gets to color and it's doing big circles, the circles are going to be much larger with the lighter line and less drag on it. But because he was using heavier line, he was able to tighten up the circles and keep the fish in one area, which is going to help you avoid tangles and get the fish in faster.
Now, when you're fighting fish like this, obviously it's really important to keep a bend in that rod. But when you're really fishing or fighting smaller fish, a lot of guys have a big tendency to lift really, really high because they can, right? There's a little less resistance when you're fighting a smaller fish. So you just really have to be careful that you're always keeping a bend in that rod when you lift it up really high and winding it down. We've talked about that before, but it's even more important when you're able to lift super, super high. Sometimes you don't always want to lift completely to where, the rod's like perpendicular to the deck.
Yeah, there's a certain level that you don't want to lift past. We're going to touch on that actually in a video coming up soon, where we're going to do a torture test on some rods and show you guys fatal flaws that you can do with a rod. But another big thing that I see, if you're fishing 30, 40 pound tests, you're only fishing maybe like 10 pounds of drag, something like that. And you'll see guys pulling really fast and hard on that fish. And what ends up happening is they're pulling line out of the spool, and they're just doing a lot more work. Whereas if they're going to pull slow and consistently with that lift, where line's not coming out of the spool as they lift, they're gaining 100%. So it has to be a controlled lift. You can see this one came in upside down, bobbing. Um, and I think, is that me gaffing that one? It
Hmm.
is. Flipped it to try to get in the head here. And you can see that this fish, it probably attacked the bait. It may have been hooked in the mouth at one point, but if we look real closely here, you can see the hook is actually in the tail, buried in the tail. So we were lucky to land that one.
Yeah, and here's Alex have another nice one over the rail. And let's talk about kind of some size of yellowfin. I mean, bluefin, right? Obviously, they bite at night. There's bigger fish available for bluefin. I think a lot of people don't understand that, a 30, 40 pound yellowfin is a really nice trophy yellowfin fish.
Yeah, in these local waters off San Diego for sure. If you want to fly down to Puerto Vallarta, something like that, you have a chance at a 200 pound, 300 pound yellowfin, um, which is a great experience. But if you're fishing out of San Diego on a 2.5 day, something like this, these 40-pound yellowfin are cream of the crop, in my opinion. They fight great for you guys. There's a lot of really good meat to take home. And sure, it's not your local 150-pound, 200-pound bluefin that we've been blessed with, but these are really great quality fish. And when we get a school like this, it's really something that's a blessing to the anglers.
Yeah, that one coming over the rail right there. Really nice grade. And it's interesting that they don't bite at night either.
They will a little bit. It's never like bluefin, in my opinion. What'll happen sometimes if you get on a school, a sundowner, where a little bit before dusk you get on a spool and it sticks to the boat. You can keep on hooking them into the dark where you can switch over to cold snipers and flat falls and stuff like that. And we've seen it where it'll continue in the dark. It's just not nearly as common, especially when you're setting up on a fresh school in the dark. It's just not as common for schools to bite like bluefin do. So the yellowfin are more daytime fish.
And you can see that we're back here at the stern. This guy, he actually got caught in the prop, and you can see here he's really trying to, button down his drag and thumb the spool and break his line there. It's always a challenge. He's really trying really hard to get that free.
Yeah, usually one of our deckhands will be available to come and grab that, but we had so many fish hanging that it was hard there. I think it was just a bait that swam in there. That's why he's trying to break it off. But if this were a fish, instead of trying to pull it out like this, we would suggest going into free spool to see if the fish will swim down, and then we can grab a Y to try to push it out.
Another great shot here. A few good bent rods, and this guy's using a little bit of a heavier setup. Again, just giving you a little bit more control, a little bit shorter of a fight, more time in the water to get more fish.
And we've touched quite a bit on using heavier line, and so something's to be said. If a captain says in his seminar before the trip, start out using a certain pound test, say 25, 30, something light, it's because they've been out there every single day and they're seeing the conditions and how the fish are acting. Things can change, obviously, when you get on a bite and when the fish react really well. And that's why you just have to have either multiple setups or the ability to change over and know your knots to switch over your leader and get a new hook on there so you can fish that heavier line if you're blessed with a wide open bite like this one that we filmed on this trip.